He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Let's rampage through your calls here and then get to a bunch of news. John in FEMA Region 5. What former state are you in?
Wisconsin.
All right. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, I got.
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News live coverage. This is our pre-election coverage for Obama's midterm elections. Now, a lot is going to happen this election. We look to see a turnover in the Senate. Of course, that's the horse race aspect. There's going to be many different aspects that we're going to cover tonight. But first, since this is a live broadcast, I want to let you know how you can get in touch with us. Here's Rob Dew with that information.
Thank you, David. This is Rob Dew here at INFOWARS.com. I'm over in Studio B. This was our first nightly news studio that we built and actually premiered the first show out of. It was September 1st, 2011. Back then, it was just a small crew of 4 of us and Alex, and we were able to build a team of reporters and expand and keep expanding with your help at prisonplanet.tv. All the members there, we sure do appreciate all your support. Now, I want to tell you all the ways that you can get in touch with us and watch the show live. If you go to InfoWars.com, right now on the homepage, we have a button on the top, and you'll see a election button. And if you bring that up right now, guys, you can show the people at home watching that. And you also see a free live video right underneath. There it is. You got the elections and free election coverage. Now, elections will take you to InfoWars.com/election. There's that button. And right underneath it is the free live video coverage, which takes you to InfoWars.com/show. Let's go to the elections button first. Let's hit that. And it takes you to, there it is. It looks like we have, yeah, and then there's the masthead, and it also has some of the election articles that we've been bringing up. If you click on the top of that, scroll back up, guys, to the top, and you hit that Freedom versus Oppression free live coverage, that takes you also to InfoWars.com/show, same as the free live coverage. And there you can hit play on that and watch it for free. We also have on our YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/The Alex Jones channel, we are also offering a free stream of all the stuff that's going on as well today. So there's basically 3 ways you can get to us. You got InfoWars.com/show. If you're a member of PrisonPlanet.tv, you could get to us that way, or through the Alex Jones channel on YouTube. We have the free election coverage there that we're going to run for the next 2 days. And we're going to be doing all this, and we really want your feedback on this. We're also going to be having a live Twitter board. You guys can cut to that camera real quick. You'll see Leanne looking at some of the tweets going on, and she'll be responding to those live. We'll have a different rotating cast of characters rotating through there. And so we want to send us your questions, send us your comments, and really we want to make this as interactive as possible, because we really do want to bring the media, the new media, into the 21st century and beyond. And with your help, we can do that. And this is really exciting that we can bring you all this stuff live here, all the different studios that we're going to be cutting to, the different panels, all the videos are going to be playing. It's all due to your help and your support at PrisonPlanet.tv. And with that, we're going to go back to David Knight and the rest of the live show. We're going to be here till 10 o'clock tonight.
That's right. We're going to take a look at the horse race aspect of it, but we're also going to look at the fraud. We're going to look at the political ads. We're going to look at who's behind that. We're going to look at the issues that weren't addressed in this campaign that basically have been ignored by both sides. This is going to be an historic realignment because of Obama's policies and because of his executive orders, his dictatorial way of handling things. Now, of course, he and Mary Landrieu will famously tell you that this is just because of sexism and racism, ignoring, of course, the fact that she's been elected 3 times as a woman, and Obama has been elected and reelected as a black man. That hasn't changed. What has changed is people have seen that his policies are making their lives and our lives quite a bit worse. Now, we do have some interesting news. We see that ex-Secret Service agent is on the verge of a huge upset, according to his assessment. This is reported by WND.com. This is Dan Bongino. We're going to have some information about him later in the broadcast. He was a former Secret Service agent for Obama. Basically, he's had enough. And he pointed out in the article that he says he does his own social media. It's his voice. And he says, don't fall into the trap of speaking down to people. In other words, people can understand it if you give them content. So we're going to have some of what he has to say coming up later on. Of course, signaling that things are not going their way. We have Joe Biden today saying that he is ready to compromise. Well, he's been compromising on our rights, on our freedoms, on the Constitution for a long time, but now he's sending out a signal saying that he's willing to compromise now with the Republicans once they have the majority in the Senate. Very different from what we heard earlier when we just heard Obama say he's got a pen and he's got a phone and he's going to basically do whatever he wants. And that's going to be one of the aspects that we're going to talk about tomorrow night with Alex Jones. We're going to talk about what comes after the election, the consequences for that. And it's not really clear that it's going to be it certainly isn't clear. We all know the Republicans are largely going to follow along with the policies that the Democrats have had because they've largely got the same corporate masters. In some ways, we're going to see an acceleration into the kind of one world government, the kind of corporate elitism that we've seen in the past. One example that's going to be, for example, in the Senate Intelligence Committee. We know that Dianne Feinstein's kind of got a personal feud going now with the NSA over the direct bugging of her Senate staff and the Intelligence Committee as they were looking at the CIA torture report. So there's been a lot of back and forth on that, but the person who would likely replace her, Richard Burr, has basically said he doesn't ever see a need that the Senate Intelligence Committee would have any public hearings. So much for transparency, so much about controlling and reining in criminal organizations. Now, we're also going to be talking about fraud, and today just an article that just came out about a lone wolf political operative and some corruption. We have a mail carrier being investigated over allegations of dumping GOP political mailers. This is out of Madison, Wisconsin. Basically, this guy evidently doesn't like the GOP, so he just decided that he would dump the mail as a mail carrier. But, of course, it's also the bigger guys who we're going to be concerned about. We're going to be taking a look at that when Rob Dew joins us with Darren McBreen. We're going to be looking at GMO initiatives, at pot initiatives, and the way big money is really throwing its weight around in those areas. But, of course, there's other subtle ways that that happens as well. Now, the Edward Snowden documentary, Citizen 4, has now hit theaters in the U.S., but only 37. Not 3,700. But just 37 theaters. Now, compare that to what Harvey Weinstein did with Zero Dark 30, making a hero out of Obama just before the re-election. They don't want to completely demoralize the base, so they don't want them to see what he's been doing to civil liberties. Well, one of the ways that we know whether or not we're slaves or not, of course, is the Second Amendment. And although the Second Amendment gets a lot of attention, it's not necessarily in the way that we would like to see that happen, is it, Shikari?
That's exactly right, David, because one of the things we all know, we're all pro-gun, we all support the right to keep and bear arms. But, a lot of times you'll go out on the street, you'll talk to people, you have a lively debate, and they'll say, Obama's not trying to ban guns, and you guys are lying. They always try to say that you're a Republican. Obama didn't take anybody's guns. Well, it's not for lack of trying.
Yeah.
And we've seen various places around the country, whether it's New York with the SAFE Act, they don't want you to have a certain type of firearm. But let's look back and think about last year, talking about 2013 and all the things they tried to ban in just that year. We have the article, Dianne Feinstein's assault weapons ban of 2013. And just to give you the precursor for what we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to talk about Bill Gates, Michael Bloomberg, all the big billionaire boys club who want to come and take away your firearms, even though they have personal bodyguards and people to protect them. But Senator Dianne Feinstein, last year, she had the assault weapons ban, and she had it written, all semi-automatic rifles that can accept a detachable magazine and have at least one military feature. It includes a pistol grip, a forward grip, a folding, telescoping, or detachable stock, and also a grenade launcher. I don't see too many of those, or rocket launchers around. But if you scroll a little further down, and you can see the 150 plus firearms that would just cease to exist in the United States of America, including but not limited to AK-47 assault rifles. Now, I'm sure you guys all recall the very famous clip with President Obama. I will not take your rifle away. I will not take your shotgun away. But the thing, they do these sleight of hand techniques because President Obama was content to hide behind Dianne Feinstein. I'll let her put out just whatever she can get through. That's what I'll sign. That's what I'll back. And we see here, I don't know about you guys, but I think an AK-47 is a rifle. I'm not a master of arms or anything. But Joe Biggs, you spent many years in combat. Would you consider a AK-47 to be a rifle?
I mean, basically, I mean, it's just a regular rifle. Yeah, I mean, it's an assault rifle, but it's pretty typical. I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, everyone uses them. It's in every country.
Right. It's one of the most famous rifles on
one of the most durable ones. You could drop it in mud, water, dirt, anything like that. It's still going to be reliable.
Right. So that's the precursor. But now let's talk more about the guys who are currently involved in this gun debate. Let's start with one William Gates, and we'll have a special report following this segment of the news that goes more in depth on this. But we have this: Bill Gates donates $1 million to U.S. gun control campaign, and this is a gun control campaign out of Washington State. And we see the guys, Bloomberg, Bill Gates, they're coming out and funding all these gun. They don't want to call themselves anti-gun. I guess they prefer the term gun control. We want to control how many bullets you can have in your magazine. We want to control the type of stock that you have on your firearm, things such as this. You know, they want to control who you can sell your firearm to or buy your firearm from.
But the problem is that that's the way you turn a fundamental right into a government-granted privilege.
That is exactly right.
By gradual infringement, moving around in the edges, shaving off a little bit here, shaving off a little bit there, and pretty soon you've got nothing.
Right.
Except what they allow you to have. So it becomes a privilege.
That's right, and that's what we see, and that's what we don't want, because I want the right to go out and buy whatever I want to buy, because we saw the famous, or should I say infamous clip that Paul Joseph Watson did an article on, talking about the guys in the field, and they had the DHS training video showing the guys, you know, transacting a gun transaction, you know, buying guns out the trunk of a car. They try to play this off as if it was
aerial view, as if it was some type
of illegal activity. We'll talk more about that here in a second. Now we see Gun Control Group joins forces with $50 million from Michael Bloomberg. And you guys know Michael Bloomberg. They keep changing the name, Dave. It's hard for me to keep up. It was Mayors Against Illegal
Yeah, because
guns,
they're not getting any traction. They're losing, and when they lose, they try to essentially rebrand themselves and come back in a different way. And that's a large part of why he's covering different people. In many cases, like any special interest or PAC group, he wants to look like he's got a winning record. So he's kind of picking and choosing, and a lot of the incumbents that he's supporting are not necessarily people that are such hardcore you know, gun control addicts. You know, they've got some other people that he's basically taking a pass on that have been doing it for years, would truly do want an outright ban as soon as possible, as quickly as they can get it. And he doesn't give them any money because he wants to push this. But he's funding both sides of this. He's funding anti-gun Republicans, and he's also funding anti-gun Democrats against pro-gun Democrats. That's a key thing for people to realize what he's doing there.
Yeah, it's controlled opposition, and we see the article, Bloomberg Gun Control Group's endorsement are incumbent heavy. And you can see this, you can read this article for yourself, the Washington Wire, and see the tail of the tape on that. But you know, it's these guys, these Bloombergs, these Bill Gateses, as I said earlier, and you'll see in the report coming up, you know, these guys have armed bodyguards to protect themselves. You know, you'll see the video coming up here shortly. Somebody approaches Bloomberg, he says, Mayor Bloomberg, in the spirit of gun control, will you disarm your entire security force? And he stumbles around and goes, I'll try to get back to you on that. And this is what they do. You know, they don't want you to have the means to protect yourself. Meanwhile, they're surrounded, their children are protected. They ride around with the bodyguards and all that.
These college students, you know, a lot of these college students I encounter, I go and talk to, they're all like, I don't think we should have guns anymore. I really think that's the job for the police. They need to be the ones with guns, us as the citizens to just give our guns up and trust them to do the right thing. And that's what's being taught in these schools. That's what a lot of our youth are growing up with, the mindset that we don't need guns. Those are bad. Let's just give them up.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that, talking about the police are coming here to save you in our next segment. But, you know, talking more about that, I've been to the same college campuses that you have, Joe Biggs, gone out and done some reports. And, you know, I did a report when I went out and I asked particularly young ladies, you know, do you think that you should be able to conceal carry on campus? And, you know, I'm not trying to force a gun into anybody's hands. You know, that's what they always say. You want everybody to be packing a gun. If you want a gun, if you're a sane mind and body, you know, go for it. But I don't want some Obamacare doctor to tell you can't. But, you know, talking about the young ladies and the firearms, and I asked them, you know, would you carry a firearm? And a lot of them said no. I said, well, what do you expect to happen if you are attacked? You know, lo and behold, it's like, well, I'll just call 911. So then I tested them. I said, so this, you know, big, strong, scary man with the ninja skills to pull a loaded gun out of your hand, for some reason won't be able to take your phone away. You know, and that's not saying
well,
let's give everybody a gun.
Look at the sheriff in Milwaukee. What was his name? David Clark. Yes. Now, Bloomberg targeted him directly because he said that. He honestly went out and told the people, he said, look, we can't be everywhere. to defend you. So, we'll do what we can to catch the people, but, if somebody attacks you, it's going to be a while before we can get there. So you should get a firearm, and you should take classes.